So today's focus is node classification. And if you are a researcher who is exploring the graph related research or who is doing some sort of analysis on some social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc., then definitely this particular video might be useful for you. Because usually we are interested in the sort of audience classification or the people classification. But what is this node classification and how it is related to this particular problem? So, for example, consider a big network like Facebook network. There are a number of profiles, and if we consider each profile as a node and the relations between two profiles, for example, A is friend of B and B is friend of C, then indirectly A is related to C. So these sort of relations are there. If you want to have this sort of heuristic extraction, or you want to get this sort of information available, then you can go for the graph related research. But if you are only interested in just classifying the number of people available on a social media platform or any sort of network, you just want to have a simple analysis that how many people belong to this particular category and how many people belong to the other category, then this particular problem of node classification comes to the picture. So what it is, how it is useful, etc., details you'll find out in this particular video. So stay tuned. Starting with the basic definition, it is a common machine learning task applied to graph means training models to classify the nodes. So simple thing is you are just training some models to classify the nodes. Now, is it necessary to train the models? No, it is not necessarily. If you are able to do on your own, or you can devise your method without some automated techniques. But the point is, when you have very large networks, then it is almost impossible to go for the manual sort of classification, etc. That's why the machine learning or the deep learning related things come into picture. So nowadays we do know that big data is coming into picture. So many different techniques are available to manage the big data, but still when you have some sort of automated prediction, then machine learning or deep learning sort of things are very handy. Again, it's a debate then which particular technique is useful, because it depends on what sort of network is under focus, what sort of data is available. Additionally, what is the volume of the data, etc., etc. Now coming to the general thing that we have understood what is node classification, but how it looks like. So come to just simply, I want to show you some of the images. For example, here you can see that this is a general interpretation. Okay, in this interpretation, you can see that there are different sorts of nodes, but you are only interested in blue and green type of nodes. So you are applying the node classification process over here, and you are having the simple classification based on your intended choice. It means you want to have the blue and green sort of classification. Additionally, if you want to have some other form of classification or etc., then you are free to go, because again, the problem might be different, the use cases might be different, and specifically when you do research, then research is not very general sort of domain. You need to be very focused. You need to do kind of very funneled approach where you pinpoint onto a particular specific research domain, that this is my research domain. So you might be starting with a general social media network related research, then you funnel it down onto a specific problem, the graph related research, then you more funnel it down, and there you come on to the node classification or the link prediction, etc. And then you decide your topic, that in node classification also you on which particular problem you are particularly interested in, and then you define your problem statement. Then you try to find out the possible methods with which you can go further and try to tackle your intended problem. So when we are saying that node classification is a problem, then first thing that it gives you the heuristics that these particular nodes belong to this particular category and these belong to other. But in general, when we talk about node classification, then as I told you, people do say that it is a machine learning based task or the deep learning based task. But in general, it is nothing but a simple analysis, which is based on graphs. That is the plain definition. And the goal is that you are assigning some sort of labels to the nodes, that this particular node belongs to this particular class or this particular class. Again, the classification comes to picture. So it is might be the binary classification or multi-class classification. So how many different classes of you are having with respect to the this node classification? That is a particular question. So if you are going for two-class classification, like as I told you in the example, blue or green, then it is binary classification. If you have more than 2, then obviously it is multi-class classification. Now the different models are available for this particular thing, but those models depend on again different sorts of parameters. And for example, one thing is model. So which particular model you are using and what is the aim? So in general, the aim is that to have the node properties, and based on the node properties, you just want to identify in which particular class this particular nodes lies to. Additionally, you have different sorts of databases, and those databases or data sets are available in public domain. You can go to Google, just to simply search the node classification related data sets, or you can go to the Google Scholar. There you will find the number of papers. Based on the number of papers, you will find some of the related details which are available. And a particular technique which is related to node classification might be using a particular sort of model. So let me name some of the few models. One is the SSP. Second is the ACM plus GCN. And third one is FSG neural network, which is FSGNN. And there are some of the other, including the ACMII snowball. So there are different versions related to it, 2 and 3. Those are also the part of debate that which particular model to go with on. Additionally, you have the data sets like the Squirrel, Cornell, Pubmed, Citeseer. These are very popular data sets, and you can go, there are dedicated websites based on these particular data sets. So you can have the sort of basic understanding if you want to have, then you can go to the respective websites. Now coming to the specific detailing that we are talking so much about this node classification, then is there any particular work where you can go and have the sort of analysis? And I'm just simply giving you an archive, which is a public, openly available, freely available repository where you can find number of papers. So one of such paper is a fast graph representation webbing with PyTorch geometry. So there you can go, it is a 19 work. So there you will find number of different parameters and different heuristics which will help you to understand the problem of node classification in a better way. But again, as I told you that there might be different sorts of methods. Here also you can see that GCM, Sage, then Zero, then the Gracchus and diffpool. These are some of the related methods which are applied. And then they have made a sort of analysis based on the different parameters. But it is not the only thing that you always go for this sort of paper, or you go with the practical paper. If you are a beginner, then always it is suggested go with the survey sort of paper. So they try to find a basic survey paper. You go to Google Scholar and just simply type that node classification survey paper. If you are interested, I can show you. So just simply move to Google Scholar, and there you'll find this is the home window of Google Scholar with for whom those haven't encountered Google Scholar as of yet. If you are early researcher, just come on to or land onto this particular page. Just simply type node classification, and then you will find some of the survey papers. So if you try to find a specifically means a particular category of survey paper, for example, a specific survey paper which is focusing on some specific trait of node classification, or the survey paper which is published in a particular year, that also you can do. But in general, if we just want to have a survey paper, do it. And then these are the sort of time limits with respect to number of years. So if you want to find the latest papers, you can go since 2023, so only in this year, then with respect to last years, then with respect to last years, then up to 2019, all the related custom range you can set. And then what sort of articles you want to have, then you can sort by date, etc. Different possibilities are there. But as I told you that node classification also is not a pinpoint domain. It is also a sort of a general domain where you need to define your problem first, then only you can go further. So just open any of the survey paper, data mining techniques they are focusing on, but it is a graph neural networks in node classification, survey and evaluation. So looking good, you can open it, and there you'll find different sorts of related techniques and the sort of concepts which are related to node classification. So just to go down and you will find the related techniques. Okay, find out the related techniques and you will find all the different notations and definitions here. What is graph neural network? Some of the experience mental analysis challenges and future directions, etc. They have discussed. Okay, so that's the general procedure. But my point is that whenever you are going for graph related research, you are having some sort of images or some of the related videos that you want to find. Then some of the node classification related videos also you can find over here. Okay. Then what is the first point that comes to mind, that node classification you are doing? Then in this node classification related thing, what you want to do, that is your problem. But that particular problem of how to tackle it, and specifically when you are tackling it, then what sort of possibilities or the things are available which are going to help you out. Then firstly, you think you are supposed to find out that what are the related data sets, what are the sort of models, if you are interested on the data sets or the model related research. Additionally, what are the sort of libraries which are available to help you out? Then if you want to do a specific subtask in this particular domain, then for example, graph structure learning you can go for, or you can go for the heterogeneous node classification, or the sort of node classification based on a particular specific technique or a specific interest. Then you can go for that particular problem also. But all these things coming together means the problem definition related possible solutions, what are the existing solutions, what are the possible future possibilities in that particular domain. All those things you can only find in a particular work. So find a suitable research paper which is closely related to your research, and then find the gaps with respect to the future work in that particular work, and then you can go for the specific implementation in the coming video. So find some of the related works, then you will find the gaps, and that's all, because that particular work will become the base paper and will guide you into the right direction. So choosing the base paper, right base paper, is a crux. And if you are going for the sort of general paper, then it is not going to lead you into the right direction. For example, a survey paper is a sort of general paper, because it is not giving you the general direction that you are supposed to move into this particular direction with these particular tools and etc. Unless the survey paper is very definedly written and it is giving you all sort of details with respect to a particular domain. Okay, so let me just tell you some of the papers which are related to node classification. One is the semi-supervised classification with graph convolutional network. It is a bit old, 2016 work, which is having the PyTorch implementation, and the GitHub repository is available, so you can move on to GitHub and you can find the related techniques. Additionally, some of times we find very interesting titles. So one title, 2019 work is it is. So title is How Powerful Are Graph Neural Networks? So you can go for that particular work also. There you'll find lots of related details with respect to the graph neural networks in particular. It's a PyTorch implementation, and the GitHub related details is also available. Then the deep work, online learning of social representations is one of the work. Then inductive representation learning or large graphs, etc. Large graphs in particular are the focus, because usually people do the small graph related research that is not considered a substantial research, because in general, in real life, the graph problems are bigger, like the social media networks, some big organization network having thousands or millions of employees, etc. These are some of the realistic graph problems. Having 10 nodes graph problem or the 20 nodes graph problem is not a graph problem, because that you can do in a manual way also. Okay, so all the automated classification or the automated techniques don't come into this particular small graph related problems. And obviously you don't need the automated solution, so you don't need the sort of derived heuristics, etc. So leave all these sort of problems, focus onto the large problems, the large networks or the large graph or the complex graph related problems. Then only your research is going to be sort of very interesting or the substantial one. But if you are focusing on some new method evolution, or you are focusing onto the some specific method, and so first, I think first that whenever you are going for the specific kind of research, don't just simply jump onto a specific work. Do a proper survey, and that particular survey is going to help you out that where you need to go. So just go with the basic definition, and then find your related research interest that will help you out. Hopefully, this particular video might be helpful for you. If you didn't like, please do comment below and let me know what are the possible things that we can include in our future. Thanks for watching. Happy learning.